I'm here, Ashley Colley, out in California, and we've got Oz in the Yorkshire Dales, that completely opposite ends of the spectrum. Um, which is interesting because I think that's the theme of Spurs fandom and also actually play these days.
Oh, nice link, Ash.
Yeah,
I like that.
opposite, yeah, nice one, huh? I must be a writer or something. Opposite ends of the spectrum. So we've got the two older gentlemen here today. Um, and actually, it's interesting. I asked this of other fans who've been fans for a long time. I think I think things have changed a lot over the years in terms of fandom. I don't know about you, Oz, but when I was growing up, of course, I lived in Wales, so I wasn't even in England, and I just suddenly didn't get to see any of the English games. We'd only see the Welsh games, but you read the newspapers, of course, and things like that. And I was just a fan. Even if we lost, I was a fan, and I looked forward. I go, okay, probably because we weren't being bombarded with all the social media and all the comments and whatever, good or bad. And I was just a fan of my team, Tottenham, and I still am. So you probably
What year
have,
did you start supporting Ash?
pardon me,
What year did you start supporting?
the first cup final I saw them win was 67.
Okay.
I think I might have been a fan. I actually met Jimmy Greaves when England came to Cardiff uh, um, to play Wales. And Dad said, "Hey, Greavesy," and I went up a nipper and shook. He was very, very polite, handsome, handsome man, and shook my hand before the game, which was fabulous. So yeah,
Nice
that's
one.
what I became. But then we emigrated to Canada, so I missed. That's what I was asking you about Martin Chivers. I missed that whole somewhat segment until they started in North America showing more games. So then I became like on Thursday. I was at an LA Spurs. We've got the biggest Premier League supporters club here in California, in LA. So it's grown now, and so I've reconnected with the team that I loved when I was younger.
It's funny. I support Spurs for two reasons. One, when I was 4 years old, Dad went to London University, and we lived in Chingford, and so he used to go to the lane in 56-ish, probably Arthur Rose push and run team, um, and I was only four, so I really didn't know anything. But the first game I remember, first live game in my life that I watched on television was the 1962 Cup final, which was Spurs versus Burnley, and Jimmy Greaves cast me to 60 years of misery by scoring in the fourth minute. And I've been a Spurs fan ever since. But I lived up north, so I would only see Spurs if they came to Newcastle or Sunderland.
Oh,
I
they go.
And so I saw Cliff Jones, I saw Jimmy Greaves, I saw
Wow.
Danny Blanchflower, Dave Mackay,
Wow.
um,
Wow.
but I didn't see John White. John White had died before I saw them. Um, but I've been a Spurs fan since then. But the thing I liked about those days, I remember we signed Alan
Peters,
Mullery,
Mulry.
and there was no gossip in the press about it happening. You suddenly signed Alan Mullery for whatever price he signed, and he was there. He was a Spurs fan, and we signed Martin Chivers, and
Yeah.
Martin Chivers was suddenly a Spurs player, and you're excited. But now with social media,
Yeah.
coming back to your comment,
Yeah.
you're talking about players you've never heard of signing, and you all go and you YouTube them, and you really don't have a I mean, there are some people that follow European football and South American football and African football. I don't. I support Spurs. I follow Spurs, and I have a vague knowledge about all the other teams in the Premiership in terms of who they've got playing for them. Um,
Absolutely.
and
Well,
I think social media on one level has ruined the excitement because you get excited and you get excited and then they don't sign and they sign for someone else. And
what
it
do you, beyond that, since we're on social media, what do you think? I think probably you and I have a different take, and we'll get into this when we talk about the last two games. Um, is that there's a lot of younger people who are incredibly impatient with the team, with the manager and things, and it's they're entitled to be. But it sort of it miffs me and kind of irks me in some ways too, because I'm wearing a Tottenham scarf. They're my team. Win, lose, or draw, they're my team. I'm not a happy clapper. I want them to win, maybe like you, more than all the other people, because we haven't seen them win, and I want them to win. So I'm not this happy clapper sort of catch-all phrase. Just because you're not negative on the team doesn't mean that you aren't expecting better. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So, what's your thoughts on that?
well, two things. One, on the social front, I think
Yeah,
we live in a world of immediacy. When
right.
I was young, and I'm a little bit older than you, I know, but
Mhm.
if you wanted to buy a suit on credit, you had to save up for 30% of the value of the suit before you could buy it
Really?
on credit.
Yeah, really?
Whereas now people just go and hand a card over and they get it straight away. So,
That's a good point.
and since I'm talking about, I started work in 1970, and since then the world has turned from um, a population that has learned to save for things, that has learned to borrow the money for things and get it straight away rather than having to wait. So the appreciation that we had, if I saved money for a suit and got credit for it, and I put 30% down and got the suit, I really appreciated that suit. But if you just go out and pay on the credit card and
It's a
you get
great
it,
point.
you don't have the same appreciation. And I think football is the same.
Hmm.
Um, Manchester City, Manchester United,
Yeah.
Arsenal, um,
Chelsea.
they Chelsea, yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
They've since Mourinho came to the country and Abramovich took Chelsea over, we've lived in a world where people buy success,
Right.
and you've got Newcastle fans now chomping at the bit because they haven't bought success yet because
Yeah.
they've
It's
got
true.
they've got a lot of wealth behind the club.
No, no, it's
I've got
well,
I've
you
got
said
two things. One
yeah, what was the other thing?
one of the things I appreciate about Spurs is we've always played good football. And if we've had a shit team, we've always had a player that I could go and watch.
Yeah,
So I grew up with Jimmy Greaves and Cliff Jones.
yeah.
Then I remember Glenn Hoddle coming into the team at 17. And I worshipped Glenn Hoddle. He was, England should have built their team around Glenn Hoddle. They didn't. They were stupid.
Yeah.
But he was the most talented player in the country for 12 to 14 years. And then we had players like Waddle and Beardsley at Newcastle. Beardsley I used to watch at Carlisle because I'm a Carlisle fan because I was born in Carlisle. That's another story. But I love watching players who've got that absolute innate talent to do things that other players can't do. And now we live in a world where all the footballers can do quite a lot of very good things because they've all looked at the tricks. And we live in a world of tricks, but we also live in a world now where football teams are regimented. They play with a discipline and they play with a style implemented from above by the managers. And we have a style now. We have an attacking style, high press, and it isn't working at the moment. But we've got players out. But you've got players having a go at Ange. You've got fans having a go at Ange because it's not working. But when you've got 8 to 10 players out, which we've had over the last month, he's got the same players playing every game, and we're playing every 3 to 4 days, and they're not getting a rest. And so, take yesterday's game, for example. We scored 3 goals against Liverpool. No other team has scored 3 goals against Liverpool this season. Yes, we conceded 6, and I hate that, and I hate Liverpool. But we've got something that works when it's working well. If we had a full team, I think we'd be getting better and better and better. And I think some of the highlights we pick are, I thought Archie Gray had a super game yesterday. He played really well. He made 2 blocks before Salah, I think it was, that put the ball in the net. He turned on the goal line at one stage. He was sold a short ball, and he had a player right on him, and he dummied the guy, and he turned and he played that ball out. What a good player that guy is.
Yeah.
Jed Spence played left back. And we're talking about a defence with 4 players, only one of whom is first team, and the one that was first team is probably the worst defender we've got at the club. Although in his Pedro Porro, in his defence, he's played every game. He's knackered.
He's actually played the most minutes of all our players.
Absolutely. But you've got Dragusin, who's 22. He was brought in as a reserve centre-half, and that's what he is, a reserve centre-half. But he's had to play the last few games because Romero's out. Archie Gray is a midfielder. He's played left back, he's played right back, and he's played centre-half. I mean, he's 18 years old.
Absolutely. So,
and then you've got Jed Spence, who's playing a left back, but he's a right back.
Right.
So we had a defence yesterday, none of whom would be expected to be on the top of the game. But the problem yesterday, I thought, was with the midfield because we kept giving the ball away. Bissouma gave the ball away a lot. Son didn't do any defensive work. Sarr didn't have his best game. But we get people saying, Spurs capitulated. They actually did pretty well, to be quite honest. I didn't expect them to beat Liverpool. I don't expect them to beat Liverpool in the League Cup semi-final, although Liverpool will play a weakened team in that match. I don't know. We've got too many high expectations and without any sort of counterbalancing thoughts.
I'd like to talk about this patience, and which is initially about the spectrum. But before I get to the patience, one thing I did notice, and I'm sure it has to do with the fact that the players are playing game in, game out. I did notice you had good points, Oz. What I noticed when Liverpool was scoring goals, that our midfield, both Sarr and Bissouma, who I actually have time for, they were losing their men. They were losing them, and they were just running on to an open space and scoring goals. I saw like 3 of the goals where Sarr is just not following his man, or Bissouma is just not following his man. And that could well be a lack of discipline, or a combination of also playing too many minutes. Now, that's getting back to this thing about patience. Do you find, and I think it's even in the CADS forum, there's some anger and acrimony about, you can't say this about me. You can't say this about me. We're all Spurs fans, and there does seem to be, I wonder what you think, a lack of patience with one of the things, it's Ange 18 months in, and he doesn't, when 8 to 10 of your squad, first team squad of 25, that's what, 40% of your first team squad is unavailable through injury, long-term injuries, and or suspensions. We gotta have patience. But getting back to your point about, and it was a great point about credit card, you just put it down and you buy it, and you expect it right away. You and I were brought up, I don't remember the 30%, because my mom and dad were buying. I don't remember that aspect of it, but it's a good point,
I'm older than you.
What's that?
I'm older than you.
Yeah, but it's a good point. My mom and dad will probably remember it, but
I'm not that old.
Yeah. Patience, do you think that it's driving I believe, a wedge between our fandom, this whether you have patience or a lack of patience? I actually don't think getting rid of Ange is going to solve any. How is that going to help with 8 to 10 players still out? It's not going to help. It's actually silly.
Going back to basics, a lot of people are down on Levy. Now, since Levy bought the club, I was at the League Cup final in 1999. But since then, we're in the League Cup final in 2002. We lost to Blackburn. We're in the final against Chelsea in 2008. We beat Chelsea. We're in the final in 2015, I think, and probably lost to United, I think, or maybe City. We were in the European Cup final in 2019. We lost to Liverpool. We're in another League Cup final, I think, in 2022, and lost to maybe
City. We lost to City.
City.
Jose got fired 6 days before. So,
because we haven't won one of those finals, people are down on us. But
yeah,
we've actually been in finals.
yes, we have.
We've actually challenged for things.
Yes, we have.
And because we haven't won one, people are saying, oh, we're crap, we're Spursy and all the rest of it. But for Christ's sake, we've had some great players. We've played some great football. We've played some great
Even
football
this
under
season.
Martin Jol. We played
Yeah,
some great football under Poch.
yeah.
We've played some.
Under Harry Radknapp, we played some great football too. Under Harry, we did.
Yeah, well, in fairness, I could have married Spurs under Harry Redknapp because he had Van der Vaart, he had Ledley King, he had
Gareth Bale,
Gareth Bale, he had Jermaine Defoe, he had Aaron Lennon,
Aaron
and
Lennon.
we had some exciting players in those days.
Yeah.
And I remember being at the Lane. We beat Inter Milan 3-0 in, I think it was the Europa League or whatever it was called in those days. And I remember being in the North Stand. I can't remember what it's called, Paxton Lane. And we were attacking, and you had Lennon, Defoe, Bale, and another charging forwards. And I was thinking, this is fantastic. We've had.
Us, even this season, we have had, when we've been on our game, we have been, like I said last week's CADS, before our manager Ange said it. I asked last week, I was speaking to Stu and I said, are you not entertained? And I made reference to Russell Crowe, fellow Aussie, to Ange, saying, are you not entertained? Because as grim as some of the games have been utterly entertaining and fantastic. I just happen to have a lot of patience because, by the way, Newcastle haven't won anything for 60 years. For all their money right now, they haven't won anything for 60 years. And we are ahead of Man United, who've done basically nothing since.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
I was at St James's Park when Newcastle won the last trophy. It was the first leg
Wow.
of the Intercities Fairs Cup in 1969, and they beat
69.
Ushbest Doda 3-2.
Wow. Well,
And
there you go.
went away in the second leg. But yeah, you're right. I've got patience as well.
Yeah.
I like what Ange's doing.
You do. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Just to make a point then, about we can specifically get back to Thursday's game, but just to make a general point, you believe that we should stick with the project. I said this before the season. I actually said we should bite the bullet before the season started on CADS. We should bite the bullet and take the hit and play these young guys we're bringing in and say, this is the rebuild. This is how it's going to be. And in fact, that's essentially what we are doing. We're taking the hit and we're biting the bullet and we're actually bringing the younger team in. It's almost being enforced, but we are bringing them in.
Last night, I thought Gray had an excellent game.
Yeah.
But Bergvall came on,
Yeah.
and I thought he got booked. And I thought he was unlucky to be booked. I thought that booking was really harsh.
Yes.
But Bergvall looked a quality player,
Yes.
and I'm thinking, these two are 18 years old, and let's say Mikey Moore does make it and come through, and let's say that the young centre forward comes through as well. Yeah. We've got a real nucleus of quality talent who are kids. And I'm excited about where we're going.
Sarr is only, what, 20, 21,
22? Oh, Sarr's 22.
Johnson's 21, 22. Kulusevski, 22, 23. Kulusevski, our best player this season, is 22, 23, you know? So this is about what I'm saying about biting the bullet. You know, okay, I can see what he's trying to do. But do you think it would be a major mistake in letting Ange go now? I don't believe it's going to help in any way.
Oh, who are you going to bring in? I mean, part of me on odd weekends this season, I thought, oh well, I wouldn't mind getting the Brentford manager in, but then I'm thinking he's going to start again, different philosophy. You're back to ground zero,
different players, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Keep the manager we've got and give him a real bite of the bullet. Give him 3 years. 3 years, you have six transfer windows, and he will get the players he wants. I think if he gets another year and a half, I think we'll have a very good team.
I hope that happens. I hope Levy doesn't press the panic button. There are people, I don't know if it's 50% or whatever, who do saying Elgay Ange out. Even some of the guys that we really like, our friends, are saying that, and
I've
Ange.
got friends that I know personally that want Levy out.
Yeah, well, Levy out and Ange out too. Let's go back to Thursday's game, and there you are. When we were up 3-0, we were playing entertaining, fabulous football, as good as all those things you were talking about, Oz. Those other teams where Jimmy Greaves was playing, or when Hoddle was playing, or Ricky Villa was playing, or David Ginola was playing, as when Gaza was playing, we were playing exciting football, which is our DNA, when we were up 3-0. And we were looking good. And United were looking pretty piss poor, And just unfortunately, a couple of little errors. He didn't want to make them, and it could have been skid row time, What's your
Look,
feeling about the game on?
Fraser Forster is a very good goalkeeper.
Yes.
I've watched him for years. I thought he was good at Southampton. He's brilliant as a keeper at making saves. He's not a playing out from the back keeper, and he's being thrust into a team where we play out from the back.
Right.
So I like the guy. He comes over as being a really, really decent guy. He's made some fantastic saves, and
Yes.
he's made a couple of mistakes. Ange cannot account for Fraser Forster making 2 cock-ups in a game, but he's the person that gets criticism at the end of the game. Spurs nearly imploded. Spurs collapsed. They didn't bloody collapse. They won the game 4-3, and it was 4-2 until about a minute and a half from the end when they scored a consolation goal.
That's right.
We won the game. We've beaten Manchester City in the League Cup. We've beaten Manchester United in the League Cup. If we beat Liverpool in the League Cup, that will be remarkable. And then we'll play either Arsenal or Newcastle. And if we win the League Cup this year, we will have bloody deserved it.
Absolutely.
And we're halfway there.
Okay, now, what about there are people who are watching this who are going to go, yeah, but guys, we're talking about making tweaks. We're talking about better management. We're talking about quicker substitutions. All valid points. I personally think that Ange will learn these things. As you said, get another year and a half. He's going to learn these things. He is stepping up. Before he came here, I was going, is he good enough to step up to the Premier League? I questioned that because I really didn't know him. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'd like to see another year and a half to see if he can actually fix all these other things, better management, tweaking the formation in game. Also, actually, somebody made a point about Sonny. A pal, my Welsh pal John lives in Key West. He was John Ellis. John Ellis hosted him or gave him one of the tickets on Sunday's game. And so my pal John Fulgoni was with John Ellis, and he said, and he was texting me. He says, "Hey Ash, when you're sitting here looking down, you have a different sort of perspective. The albatross, the eagle's perspective. As a journalist, I used to be up there watching, and you do have a different perspective as opposed to being a fan. Eagle's eye view." And one small thing he said, and this is about Ange, which I think Ange could also evolve, is that he said, you can see that Sonny has lost that half step. It's so evident. And ironically, on Thursday night, after the Man U game, we had an LA Spurs party, and for some reason they showed all 150, not 151, of Sonny's goals. And they're just amazing. But you know what? He doesn't score goals like that anymore. So that's an element I hope Ange grows into. I actually think we need a better, more forceful on-field leader, as well as those other things about better game management, quicker substitutions, whatever. And I hope he learns those things. Go ahead, Oz.
The one thing I would like is a midfield enforcer.
Yes. Yes.
Wanyama, someone someone like that that will control the midfield and they'll stop the through balls. They'll close the ball down. They'll pick up the loose ball. They'll pick up the second ball.
Mackay, Roberts, Perryman, and as you just said, Wanyama. Hey, another guy. Who was the guy? The Brazilian guy we had.
Sandro.
Yeah, when he was on form, he was great. You know,
Until he was injured, he was fantastic.
right. Anyway, so that's on-field leadership you're talking about, kind of. You know.
Yes, I like the Brazilian Romero. Using in run. But I don't think I've a sneaking feeling he wants to be at Madrid.
Sure,
I don't think he's absolutely committed to Tottenham.
I agree.
But I think a player with his ability, playing in the middle of the field or in the middle of defence, with that win-win mentality, would be absolutely perfect for us.
We've said that. Charlie and I were talking about that last season, actually, end of last season. But we don't know how committed Rudy Romero is. What do you think about Decky? Decky. I like Decky a lot. He's 23. What do you think about making him captain? Because he definitely contributes playing wise. But some of his comments and some of his interviews are amazing, are actually better than basically Madison's pretty good in interviews as well. But Decky, you can tell he's committed and he has some good insights. Smart fellow.
He is committed and I love his interviews. And what a bloody player.
What a player.
I mean, yeah, yesterday he worked his nuts off.
Yep.
And I thought he had a debatable first half, but in the second half, I thought he was absolutely awesome, as was Solanke, in fairness. Absolutely. I thought Solanke really worked very, very hard for the team.
Yep.
I would like to see a defensive midfielder as captain. I can't think of one that I'd want, but I'd like to. That is the position where I think the captain would ideally be. Edgar Davids. And a modern day Edgar Davids coming to that team now would be absolutely sensational. I think Archie Gray has got the material to be captain in probably 3 or 4 years' time.
What do we do until then, though?
I don't know. But I'll just say one thing. Archie Gray went to apologise on Thursday to Fraser Foster, and he said sorry about that. And Fraser Foster said, "No, it's on me." But the fact that as an 18-year-old, he went to a senior pro, someone who's literally twice his age at 36, and said, "Sorry, I made a mistake." I think that speaks a lot for his character. And remembering his grandfather and his great uncle was a phenomenal player.
The Leeds player? The Leeds player?
They were both Leeds. Okay. Eddie and Frankie Gray were both Leeds.
Oh yeah, Eddie Gray, yeah.
And they were both Scottish internationals, and they were both imperious in their positions. Archie has got that in his blood. He is a star waiting to happen. Whether he'll become captain or not, I don't know. But we need someone as captain who's going to play either defence or midfield and have that drive that'll get everyone going.
So that's my point then. That's one of the things I hope that Ange can learn is that his scouting team, his talent team goes out and either finds that player or develops that player if indeed it is someone like Archie Gray. And I think when we get that sort of player into our team, like those other great ones we had mentioned, I think that's gonna help us. Where do you, given the fact that we've still got 8 players out, although Bentancur will probably come back and Udogie might be also fit, we're still looking at 7 or 8 first teamers out. Where do we go from here, Oz? We're playing our ex-manager Nuno on Thursday. Where do we go from here? How do we make it through the next several weeks without these first teamers?
If I knew that, I'd be manager of Spurs. I don't know. This is the big thing. It's easy for all of us, and there are guys in CADS that say we should do this, we should do that, this blah blah. I'm thinking, well, we're not professionals. We don't see what happens on the training field. We don't see what happens after a game is finished. We don't see what happens before a game starts. We aren't in a position to comment. Yeah, of course, we're fans and we're entitled to comment, but our comments really aren't valid because we don't know what we're talking about, because we don't know what really goes on.
That's so insightful, Oz, because, and I'm not tuning my own horn because I don't do it anymore. But for 20 years, I covered professional sports here, out of New York and LA. And I asked the questions of the professionals, of the athletes, of the managers, the coaches, the recently retired. And I asked the question, so tell me, how does this work? And I never thought myself as some enlightened person, but I certainly learned from asking the professionals, so what you're saying is it's so insightful that it bothers me when people make, yes, you're entitled to your comments, but you don't know what's going on. I remember athletes telling me on Sunday, NFL athletes on Sunday, they're on the road, okay? And they lose. They're on the plane back to wherever their city is, And I said, so you've got a game maybe on Thursday or the next Sunday. So when do you give up thinking about that game you just lost? They go, on the plane home. He said, the coaches are sending us on our iPads already stuff about prepping for the next game. So they said, we have no time to linger and whatever. We're moving on to the next game. So yes, fans are entitled to their comments, but for the most part, we're couch potatoes and we really don't know, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I played football until I was in my mid-40s. I played local league football till I was in my mid-30s, and then I moved to London and I started playing five-a-side football, and I was still playing football when I was 45, and I played cricket till I was 59, and then I had a hip replacement. And I played at a decent level in both sports. I could have played against Chris Waddle at one stage because I played in the FA Cup in a preliminary round. But we lost the game, so I didn't get to play against him, which is a shame, but that's another story. But unless you're playing, unless you're actually there, you don't know. And I think we've got to sit and respect what people say to us. And so Ange's got the job, and Ange says this. And I've got to take what Ange says because he knows a damn sight more than I do.
Absolutely.
And he played international football, for goodness sake. He played for the Socceroos. Is he stupid? No, he's not bloody stupid. Does he see the same mistakes that we see every week? Yes, he sees the same mistakes that we see every week. Does he say, I've seen those mistakes and I'm not going to do anything about it? No, he fucking doesn't, excuse my language for those that are watching later. He's dealing with it. He can't help the fact that Fraser Foster cocked up twice against Manchester United. He can't help that Fraser Foster played Mo Salah in with his first kick in the game on Sunday. He can't do it. He's on the sideline. He's not there on the pitch. And in fairness to Fraser Foster, I thought Fraser Foster turned round and got on with his game yesterday because he's a mature guy. And he knows he made a mistake. They all know when they've made mistakes. And they all know that they've got to do something different the next time because they're not stupid. Well, some of them are. Gaza was stupid. But, we look at it and say, oh, this is the case, that is the case. Yeah, of course it's the case. But they know. They know that they've got to do better. They know that they've got to eradicate certain problems. Ange is an intelligent guy. He's actually someone I'd like to have a dinner with. I'd like to sit down with that guy. And I felt the same about Pochettino, and I feel the same about Daniel Levy. I would actually love to sit down and talk to them just to get inside and find out what they really think. But Ange is an intelligent guy. He has won trophies everywhere he's been. Do we think he's stupid? Well, to look at what some people write, you'd think they do. But he's not stupid. He's a bright guy. And he sees the mistakes. He sees what we see. He's a fan of the team. He wants us to do better. Oh, do we think he's not going to try and get us to do better? Of course he's going to try and get us to do bloody better. So I get a bit frustrated. Have I had a rant? Have I had a rant, Ash?
What's that? Sorry.
Have I had a rant, Ash?
Oh, listen, I get it too. But you know, that's why I take the piss a lot. People think I'm being serious, and I take a piss, and I think I piss, and people don't get what I'm saying because I don't take it so seriously. Because there are so many serious things. I lost two of my very, very best friends this year, and I lost my godmother a couple of weeks ago here. There are so many things. We all have human things, illnesses, this, that. You know, Stu, our host, he's sick and he's not doing well, but he'll get better. We've all got human things going on, but there's a sense of taking things so seriously, and that, you know, I prefer to let the professionals sort of watch over, and I'll go along for the ride, and hopefully they'll take us to the promised land, you know, to the land of Oz, you know. Number one at the box office. Anyway, take us so Spurs can get number one at the box office. But we got to give him. We got to be patient somehow, and give him the time. And Mr. Levy, it's not as if he's been totally skint. He has to. Well, the scouting team, they have to come up. Hey, here's their number. I think we said it last year, and you said it today. Their number one should be find that number 6. Unless it's Archie Gray. Find that number 6 who has leadership and drive. Find him.
I'd like to see what happens in January, but I get a bit pissed off with all the people that are anti-Levy because Levy has spent a net 300 million in the last 3 years. That's a lot of money. And people say, oh, he's spent wrongly, he's done this, he's done that. He's backed the club. And when people say he didn't back Poch, when Poch got us to the Champions League final, two things. One, even David Pleat said that Poch said that he didn't want anyone. But two, we just spent on the stadium.
Yep.
We had 2 years when we had no money.
Yep.
But then he went out and he bought Lo Celso and he bought Ndombele, two of the most expensive players we've ever bought, and they failed. So I don't know whether it's down to Daniel. I don't know whether it's down to Poch. Who sanctioned those players being signed? But both looked fantastic before they came, and neither worked out for us. But the bottom line is Daniel spent the money on getting them. So I don't think his commitment should be challenged in any way, shape, or form. Because this club, when he took it over, this club was run by Alan Sugar, and it was a mess. He'd sort of taken over when Terry Venables was manager, and Terry Venables wheeling and dealing. And I loved Terry Venables. I thought he was a great manager. He shouldn't have been involved in business. Sugar took over, but Sugar took us into mediocrity. Then Daniel has taken over. We've got the best training ground in Europe. We've got one of the best stadiums in Europe. And we've got one of the best infrastructures in Europe. And now, once we have been competing during the time, because I've cited all the times we've been to finals, which is fact. It's not Austin thinks this. It's fact. We've been to finals. I think we've now got a platform from which we can really compete. And I think Ange will get us to compete. And I think another year, maybe 18 months, and we will be doing well. And all those people that say, "Oh no, it's not. We're crap. We need to look at Thomas Frank or whoever," which includes me occasionally when I'm feeling really low. But I've been patient. I've been patient since 1962. I didn't follow Spurs when they won the league. I followed them when they won the cup the year after, and
63, yeah.
so that might have made me a glory hunter. But I can't be described as a glory hunter because we haven't had very much in those years since. But I'm the most optimistic now I've been in the last 20 years. I was optimistic when Martin Yol got us to Lasagna Gate, but I'm more optimistic now than I was then.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful to hear. We, how much? I wonder how much social media today, because it wasn't there when we became fans, how much today social media impacts the decisions that are made from the hierarchy, or maybe it doesn't. I met Levy. I met Levy when he was here. They've been here
Oh, did
twice.
you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We met him at twice. I actually interviewed Ledley King. Um, he's very short, but listen. Let me tell you one little. We didn't have a long conversation. Let me tell you, he knows the history of Spurs. He probably knows it as well as you do, Oz.
Daniel does.
Yes, and I was impressed by a
I'm jealous.
he's just not some owner got a chairman that got dropped in. He actually knows and loves Spurs. He does, you know. Maybe he doesn't make all the right decisions, but he makes a lot of good decisions, you know. Anyway, I hope once again getting my question. I hope social media, Facebook, Twitter, X, Blue Sky, whatever, um, isn't going to force him into doing something which will just perpetuate this cycle that we're in right now. I hope we can break out, and I personally believe that keeping Ange, well, first of all, it'll stop the cycle of hiring, firing, hiring, firing, hiring, firing. It'll stop that cycle. But
I
then
don't think for a minute that Daniel Levy will be influenced by Twitter. He's
I hope not.
excuse me, sorry.
Bless you.
He strikes me as being a very clinical businessman that knows what is best for the club. And what is best for the club is not profit. Yes, it is, but it's winning trophies, because if we win trophies, we'll make more profit. And
Yeah.
that is what most people miss. Daniel Levy wants to win trophies because,
Yeah.
excuse me, sorry, we will make more money if we win trophies. But he's a Spurs fan. He wants to win trophies anyway.
He's a Spurs fan, and he knows the history of he knows all about Mackay and White and Greavesy and Chivers and Peters. He knows all of it. He knows all of that. Janola and Hartle, RC and whatever. What do you think might be Forest on Thursday? And I think Newcastle after. What do you think might be the best case scenario for realistic scenario and best case scenario for this season, Oz?
I think we'll get up into the top six. I don't think there's any doubt that we'll get some players back and we'll end up in the top six. We might end up in the top four, because if I look at the other teams, when we're playing well, apart from Liverpool, apart from Chelsea, I hate to say that,
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone that can play better football than us.
Good point.
And we've had a bad run, but we're still not far from the points. We're still not far from the places, because there are more teams this year, I think,
Yeah.
that are competitive. Bournemouth beat Manchester United yesterday 3-0.
Yeah,
I don't hear
Man U.
I don't hear the same comments about Man U that I hear about Tottenham when we lost to Bournemouth. Brighton have beaten teams. I don't hear the same comments about the teams they've beaten that I heard about Tottenham when Brighton beat us. I think there are some very good teams in the league this year, and I think there's only about 3 or 4 teams that aren't competitive, and they're in the bottom 4. But the other teams are all capable of playing good football. Aston Villa, Brighton, Bournemouth, Uh,
almost.
hang on, I'm gonna look up. I want to see the league. Then I can actually.
Aston Villa, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
So Arsenal, I missed Arsenal. Arsenal are a good side.
yeah,
So you've got
but
Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, Forest in the top four.
yeah,
Forest have got 31 points, and we have got 23 points. So they're 8 points ahead of us. But then you've got Bournemouth on 28, Villa on 28, City on 27, Newcastle on 26, Fulham on 25, Brighton and Hove Albion on 25, us on 23. I mean, they are all good sides, and they've all had mixed results against various people.
absolutely. I think the money in the Premier League has made it very competitive, and also for the players, um, they can luck out and set themselves up and their families for life. So the desire to achieve those contracts is very think of what they used to get, Jimmy Greaves, what they used to get paid, you know. So there's a lot more skin in the game. There's a lot more things to be made, and it is way more competitive. And I actually kind of love it, you know. Really, I actually kind of love it. And my dad's team was Man U, so we're still ahead of Man U, and that's always my bogey team. Um, so yeah, that. So you said that, and what? Oh, what do you think about, since you just said maybe top six? What about a possible cup win?
Uh, we're in with a shout. We're
We
in
are
the
in.
Europa League, we're in the League Cup, and we're in the
Yeah,
FA Cup.
yeah,
And I think we're in with more of a shout of winning a cup than we are of anything else.
I agree.
But I still think top six is a definite, and I think top four is quite likely
That's if we get the players back,
if we
um,
get players back.
and maybe one or two additions, perhaps. If
I'm I'm sure we'll add to the squad in January.
right,
I'm absolutely certain we'll add to the squad in January.
right.
Mikey Moore is just about back. Ramiro is just about back. Bentancur is just about back.
Well, he's back. He's back for the next game.
Yes, he is. Of course, he is.
His
So
suspension is
that will just take the pressure off a little bit. And we won the previous two games. We lost yesterday, but we won the previous two games against United and Southampton.
and
Southampton we beat 5-0. Man United we were leading 3-0, and then we gave two mistakes.
yeah,
That's not down to the overall playing style or anything else. We
yeah.
gave them two mistakes. So
I'll get back to that thing I said last Monday. Are we are we not entertained? Even the game against Liverpool, it was entertaining.
oh, it wasn't. It would have been 6-4 if Brendan Johnson had scored that goal late on with that cross shot.
Absolutely. So yeah, but hanging in. So if I had if you had a message, a Christmas message, to our particular fans, what might it be, Oz?
Um, Shut the fuck up and keep it going, team.
It's a, really, it's a good one. I would just say try and be a bit more patient, and stick with the
I
Aussie. Stick with the
I
Aussie.
I think stronger than you, Ash. I'm not criticizing, but I'm a Spurs fan. I follow Spurs. I follow
Yeah.
Spurs every year since 1962, so 62 years now. Follow your team, support them. Don't go, oh, boo this, boo Daniel Levy, boo Ange Postecoglou. That's just making the team worse. That is making the players feel worse. Support your fucking team and don't boo them.
You know
And
what?
that is my final comment.
I totally agree. Since I was the host, I won't say what you said was what I think.
Well, no,
Since,
no, because Stuart can bloop my swear words out, which he
oh, he
usually
doesn't do
does.
that now anymore. So okay, so we should wrap this up and say, Oz, Merry Christmas to you, my friend. Merry Christmas to all Spurs supporters. You know what? It's a great club to support. And I love you. I
Stuart's
love
just
you.
Stuart's just posted, but I won't. So my swear words are staying in, Ash.
Yeah, I gotta show you something quickly. I've never won anything in a raffle in my life. So at our LA Spurs party on Thursday, I actually won a Tottenham Hotspur tote bag, and it's actually an official from the club because our club, LA Spurs, bought a bunch of real stuff. You know,
Ashley, that is symbolism.
it is.
That is symbolism, and that means we're going to win something this year.
My tote bag represents that.
And if ever you come to North Yorkshire, you're more than welcome. I've got a spare room. Same applies to you, Stuart.
Absolutely. All right. So, Merry Christmas, everybody. Please be safe. Hug your loved ones. Hug them twice, you know, or three
Incidentally, where
times.
was Charlie? I thought he was coming tonight.
Oh, no. He didn't turn up at the LA Spurs party either. Anyway,
Nah, pathetic.
we were there. All right.
Bin him off.
Thank you so much. Come on, you Spurs. I don't know if Stu is going to take us out of here. Oz, have a safe Christmas. We look forward to. Thank you for your friendship and your support at Spurs.
Good to see you again, Ashley. As always, it's been a long time since we had that conversation on Norman Giller's thread.
That's true. He actually blocked me. Actually.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, because I called him out for saying Harry Kane was going to City.
He blocks you for that, did he?
Yeah, but he'll send me private emails, but he blocked me on Facebook.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. Stuart's told us to wrap it up. So, yes, Uncle Stuart, we're going to wrap it up now. Thank you very much for your support.
Come on, you Spurs!